Welcome back to the weekly news roundup and the Quicklines edition. And we're going to have a look at some things. We actually are starting out with some Linuxy news. There's some good things and some bad things in the works. AMD pulls a bait and switch on Linux. So there's an application called Vivido, and even nobody in our supporters group has ever heard of that. So I had a little bit of looking around, and I landed on Vivido's main landing page, and it was definitely written in corporate speak. Ever see corporate speak? You know those are words on a page. You can comprehend that those are words. You just have no earthly idea what that string of words actually means. Okay, so best I can tell, this is an application suite for software engineers to utilize core components of the graphics card. That's what I understand, and I might have that totally wrong. Because have a look, if you want to go to sleep some night, read Vivido's website. But they've always had a free Linux tier allowing you to have some degree of access. But in the next iteration, they're going to actually be booted out. So when you look at, here's your basic tier level. There's a basic, core, pro, enterprise. There's a Windows, there's a Linux. Windows has support, but Linux does not have any more support. In order to use this application on Linux, you have to be using core, which is between $1,200 and $1,800 a year. Use this application, and their justification is say, well, you know, people on Windows might just be tinkering around with stuff, but everybody with Linux is an absolute power user, and therefore they're not using it for small tinkering, which is utterly stupid. Now, what the PR person said is, hey, just keep using the old version. Of course, the old version is obsolete and cannot be used after the second version is out. So that's not actually a viable solution. So we need to make a huge stink about this, even though we don't know much about it, to let people know that no, Linux is being mainstream adopted by basic tinkerers and people who are not utilizing this system. And again, it just has support for a couple different things. It doesn't have a lot of your more advanced features that some people may or may not need, but the fact of the matter that they're not allowing it to support with Linux without paying them a whole crap ton of money means that AMD itself now needs Linus Torvalds' other finger pointed at it. So now he can do the double birdies out there. You can envision what's going on outside the scope of the screen. All right, so the AMD's design suite for its FPGAs and adaptive SoCs. See what I mean? I have no earthly idea what they're talking about. All right, it's what engineers, students, hardware hobbyists use to write, synthesize, and test for FPGA designs. I have no idea what that means. Okay, till now it's been available for free on both Windows and Linux under the AMD calls the Standard Edition. But of course, they're switching to a tiered licensing model. Free basic tier covers entry-level devices, but is restricted to Windows only. Linux support does not show up until core. Costs between $1,200 and $1,800 per year. Why are they doing this? To have a more flexible licensing. In other words, no, we're going to scrape more. Like cPanel used to have the unlimited license, and it was nice and easy. They got rid of all of that. Now you have to pay monthly for these things, and every single year since I've been buying my own cPanel license, it costs, I think, 10 to 20% more every single year. I'm paying close to $60 a month for that now. You know, and so, of course, I had to pass all those costs downstream to all my clients. Sorry. First order of business was to warn people about bad language and abusive behavior. Hey, AMD, why are you doing this? No bad words towards us. Stop doing stupid things. Get stupid things, get stupid words. All right. And then the supporter guy pointed out unhappy users towards the 25.2 suggests a simple stick with it if they don't want to pay. So he didn't mention that once 26.3 ships, it will no longer be usable. But they say, hey, 70% of their customers still use Windows, so 30%. And maybe everyone just should stop using it and cancel their stuff. I don't know. As stated, AMD expectations is the basic tier is used for simple entry-level needs. More advanced production workflows are aligned with paid tiers. You know, so the implication is that you can't use Linux for simple, basic tinkering. You know, I'm a basic, simple Linux tinkerer. So, you know, that's a problem. Oh, well. I have given HP a boatload of hate over the years, and it is absolutely deserved, and I will never use HP, and I do not recommend HP products. Screw you, HP. For the whole background, I mean, I'm not going to get into all of it, but I paid every last dollar I could scrape together to get a new computer during I think it was my final exams in graduate school, and the computer literally is an HP computer. It was a Compaq owned by HP. They were shipping Vista computers, which, remember, Vista had a minimum RAM requirement of 1 gigabyte of RAM, and they're shipping these computers with half a gig of RAM. The thing never worked out of the box. I sent it back to them, said, hey, this thing just doesn't work at all. And they're like, well, it looks like it was damaged. Well, maybe it was at Circuit City where I bought the thing, was throwing boxes around. That's not my problem. The thing never worked out of the box. So they completely refused to honor any form of warranty when I was a completely broke student. So now that I work in tech, I tell everybody, do not get HP. They suck. Don't use them. I hate that crap. I will not pay for an HP product. Period. Screw you, HP. And that's my recommendation. But we do have to say they did do something nice. So Linux lately, sometimes firmware does lag behind, but there have been a lot of positive movements with LVFS. This is Linux Vendor Firmware Service. You probably see this on a lot of, like, Fedora has it. I think Ubuntu has it now. This is a firmware application that can scan your system for any firmware and update the systems. So Dell and Lenovo have already put a lot into this, and they are committed to supporting Linux software through the LVFS program, meaning that if you have Dell or Lenovo computers, simply running system updates could pick up any firmware updates that they might push out, meaning that Linux computers will ultimately work better with these. HP was not taking advantage of that. However, they are now jumping into the LVFS. So they are, not only are they committed to contributing patches to it for their own hardware, but they are also paying to help with the infrastructure of this. So I have to appreciate that HP is doing that, but I'm still going to tell you, people, don't use HP products. Screw the warranty of a broke student, and when they get into the computer world, HP, you'll think twice about it maybe in the future, but I don't know. So that's actually good news in the Linux world. We will start getting better support of Lenovo and Dell, obviously, and if you happen to be using HP products, well, you know, you can always get rid of them and get something better. No, if you already have it, don't get rid of it. But my recommendation, don't buy them in the future. That's my thought. That's my anti-recommendation. I'm starting to sound like Louis Rossman here. All right. Trump administration permits Volvo to keep selling connected cars in the U.S. Wait, what? That was a dispute about that? Yeah, despite Volvo actually being partially owned and assembled in, is it Sweden or Switzerland? I think it's Sweden. All of the computers and digital components are Chinese and owned by China. And so Volvos basically are cars running Chinese software, and a Biden administration policy restricted any form of Chinese software running on certain things, including vehicles in the United States. So Volvo was banned under the rules finalized by the Biden administration in January of 2025 that blocked vehicles equipped with software and hardware developed and maintained by Chinese companies over national security concerns. So 2027 model years is when that would kick off. But Volvo had a backdoor discussion. It wasn't really backdoor. Basically, there's a way they can go in and have discussions about how they're going to work through and manage it. Basically, they can get a license to bypass this, and that's what Volvo did. So Volvos can keep being sold thanks to Orange Man Bad getting out there and working the deal to allow Chinese spyware stuff to be in this. Now, of course, all this is dealing with connected cars and connect this, connect that. Here's a thought: why don't we just not have connected cars? Can we just talk about that as a possibility? Talk about Congress people being really stupid in how they're doing things, they're having no earthly idea what's going on. They passed a law that goes into effect, I think, is it 2028? Fresh Vintage, you might know. Is it 2028? I think it goes into law, which would basically, the car would have to be constantly be watching you if it detects anything that seems like you're not. If it seems like you're distracted or distressed or something else, it will just shut the car down. They passed this into law, and car manufacturers like, we have no viable way of doing this. So that's okay. But yeah. Connected cars are stupid. Buy old cars, folks. Of course, one of the fun things I didn't recognize, I saw it in an excellent video. You know, there was it 15, 20 years ago? It was under Obama. They had the cash for clunkers, right? And the cash for clunkers, you trade in your car, you get, you know, more money than your car is worth to buy a new car, but the requirement of that program is they had to destroy and disable those cars. So that basically was a giant government psyop to get a whole lot of otherwise decent, reliable, or usable cars off of the roads to force people onto these modern cars. So it was kind of crazy in that respect. So I don't know. All right, so 700 plus education tech websites hijacked in a huge ClickFix malware campaign. So ClickFix is one of these fake Cloudflare verification steps. Hold on, I got to get the cat. The cat is going crazy because she can't see that she can get down anymore. Come here. Oh, come here. Oh, there you go. All right. But she's sitting up there and like meow, meow, meow constantly. I don't know if you guys were able to hear that or not, but she was meowing up a storm. So I think she wanted to come down and grab something to eat. So anyway, 700 plus education and tech websites hijacked. So this was Ghost CMS. So Ghost is one of the platforms that was basically one of these ones that allows you to deploy a CMS type system, which if I remember correctly, I think this is the one that's mostly based on, it basically is a CMS that generates HTML pages. So it's pretty nice when it's working. Unfortunately, there was a huge vulnerability, and I believe this is also one that has like a centralized API system that a hack was found in that. It allowed these click fixers to just go in there and just mass deploy this stuff across all these different sites. So they turned websites belonging to trusted organizations, including universities and tech companies, into delivery platforms for the malware campaign. They found that injected scripts loads a second stage click flow, presenting visitors with a fake Cloudflare CAPTCHA verification dialog. Of course, this would copy a bunch of stuff into your clipboard and then tell you to hit the Windows R and Control V and enter, which basically all you're doing is calling up a Windows terminal, pasting that code that they put into the clipboard and executing it, basically allowing your computer to be infected. Of course, this does not work on Linux. So without authentication, the attacker can directly read the database contents of the vulnerability, including admin API keys used to call the Ghost admin API. How wonderful. So, you know, obviously don't ever do anything that requires you to hit your Windows and R button and Control V. You're opening a terminal and pasting contents that they put into your clipboard and executing it. So, you know, be aware of that one. So that's fine. Scammers pretending to be Microsoft had help from U.S. executives. Yeah, all those Microsoft tech support. Hello, thank you for calling Microsoft technical support. We see that you have malware on your computer. I can help you get that fixed. Don't worry. Just boot your computer up. I'm going to have you go to this website and download this thing. I will take over your computer and I will fix it. Well, it turns out that all of these guys were so successful because a couple of United States executives who were running some of these companies selling phone numbers and cloud infrastructure were actually intentionally giving access to these systems to known scammers and then advising them on how to use it and not get picked up by the authorities. So, court case last week gives insight on how these operations work. Two former executives of call tracking and analytics company CA Cloud Attribution Ltd. Hey, maybe we shouldn't be having tracking and analytics on our calls, you know. Pled guilty to selling phone numbers and call infrastructure to tech support scammers. They even coached their illegitimate customers on how to avoid getting caught. They sold telephone numbers, call recordings, and call forwarding services to companies in India they knew were running tech support fraud operations. The prosecutors say they advised their fraud clients to rotate through large pools of numbers so complaints wouldn't get any single account terminated. They also told their own sales staff to pursue businesses they already knew were fraudulent. On occasion, they brokered introductions so fraudsters could buy and sell calls between each other. According to the FBI Boston special agent, the FBI ASAC in Boston, it says what the CEO and CSO of this well-known call tracking analytics company did was downright despicable. By their own admission, they willfully profited from telemarketing and tech support scammers here and abroad who preyed on the elderly, exploited the vulnerable, and drained the victims of their life savings and peace of mind. You know, I think that throwing them in jail for the rest of their lives, seizing all of their assets, is probably a good thing to do. Maybe even let's even pull their own grandparents' retirement funds from them. That's too cruel. Never mind. Anyway, CA Cloud Attribution isn't the first infrastructure provider to get caught helping tech support scammers. There's a bunch of them apparently. So, you know. The next caller is from Microsoft. I am from Microsoft. I see your computer has a virus. I'm going to help you solve it. All right. 340 million OnlyFans profiles allegedly rebuilt from various leaks. So this was not a hack. This is actually information collected from a variety of different leaks, various data broker deals, and a bunch of things. But they effectively put together a pretty clear spreadsheet of OnlyFans content creators, OnlyFans subscribers, full email addresses, bunch of other stuff. So threat actor advertising a purported database containing data of 340 million OnlyFans users, but the available evidence points to something less dramatic than a direct breach. It blended old data leaks with publicly available information rather than breaking into the system itself, which basically this sounds like an AI system was used to scrape a bunch of data. Okay, so let's look at what's going on here. So there may have been some leak of OnlyFans in the past. So they picked this up. But now what they're basically doing is feeding those lists into the AIs to build up and bolster the profiles to gain as much information from various data brokers as they can to put together a massive list, which is basically far more curated. So this is a serious fundamental problem with the data broker industry, which we need to abolish. The actor confirmed they didn't breach or hack OnlyFans. Instead, they used existing breaches and leaks databases and matched users with users of the OnlyFans platform. In other words, the value of the data set seems to come from correlation, not intrusion. I think it comes from AI data bolstering. That's where I think it comes from. Closer look at the samples raises questions about the quality and provenance. Provenance, not providence. Sorry. Several entries contain placeholders like none, and some fields reflected information that would already be visible on public profiles. Formatting also looks more like a stitched together identity data rather than a clean export, which that's my point. And they didn't even mention this in the article. It looks like it was fed into an AI to finish collecting and curating the data. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts about that. All right, this one's a mystery to me. So 7-Eleven is breached. They got Social Security numbers. Who is giving your Social Security number to a 7-Eleven? Is a Slurpee really that good? I mean, really? 7-Eleven data breached over 185,000. I think one article I saw said it was up to 600,000. I did see that article posted later, but this is the one I had and I read thoroughly. Data breach notification services have been pawned, says a data breach at a convenience store chain 7-Eleven affects 185,000 people, including their names, birth dates, and physical addresses. So get your physical addresses too. I mean, you got to know, that drone's got to know where to deliver the Slurpee to, you know? 7-Eleven Chief Information Security Officer Jim Castles said the hackers gained access to an internal server containing franchise documents, included Social Security numbers and driver's license numbers. Why does 7-Eleven have your Social Security numbers and driver's license numbers? I mean, maybe it was, do they have a 7-Eleven credit card? I don't know, like Love's and Pilot, all these ones have this. You know that, by the way, you can use Klarna to pay Uber Eats to pick up gas station food from Pilot and deliver it to you. Our society's reached peak destruction. I'm going to put my gas station food on 4 easy payments delivered by a random stranger. Our society's over, guys. All right. But anyway, does 7-Eleven have these cards? I don't know. Why else do they have your social security number and your driver's license number? I'm baffled. Please, somebody elucidate me. Why does 7-Eleven have such information? How is it breached? All right. This is an interesting one. Of course, I think we did cover this when it came out. Cox Media Group, Local Solutions. This is an advertising arm of Cox. They actually had a release, a product they were saying called Active Listening, which they alleged could listen. In fact, their marketing even said it's true, your devices are listening, and claimed it could use the voice data to help advertisers target ads to specific people. And there were some questions about this when it first came out, but they came out and effectively this has been litigated by the FTC that apparently they didn't have this ability, or maybe that's the giant psyop. Right? This could very well be a psyop, right? Oh, no, they don't have access to your information. It's just a random coincidence that everything you happen to mention in the vicinity of your phone shows you on advertisements. But they said they had this active listening. And then, of course, after some pushback, the FTC said they will pay $880,000 to settle the allegations that it falsely claimed to offer an AI-powered service that could target localized ads based on conversations captured from consumers' smart devices. The fact is, though, is that we know smart TVs have microphones to listen. They've told us this. So the fact that maybe it's just that this one particular product from Cox Media wasn't the case. There were actually two other subsidiaries. Cox Media's basic response was to say, yeah, our local marketing team relied on marketing materials provided to us by a third-party vendor about their product. We withdrew these materials expeditiously and stopped further use of the product. So they're basically saying, hey, a third party said they could do this. So I don't know. Maybe this is just a psyop to get us to think that our phones are not listening to us after all, but I don't believe it. I don't know. Well, Roku's got a new homepage. If you have a Roku TV and you get the latest update, you now have a giant ad. It takes up a large part. So they got rid of the listing that was there. I think they have a copy of the old one here. So, they have the listing here. But of course, our society has become illiterate, as we mentioned. AI has made us illiterate, so nobody knows what to watch means, so they just replaced it with this icon of a TV with a plus. Yeah, that's what to watch. This must be sports. This must be games. This must be movies. And this is just shopping for random crap, I think. Let's see. Streaming store. Okay. Search. Sports. Okay, I think I had it. Apparently I'm becoming brain dead too. So, nobody can read the words anymore. So let's replace those with the icons in our brain dead society. Now we got our top picks for you. Now, here's the thing, right? This isn't just an ad based on what it knows about you. This is an ad that is paid to be here. It could be, they mentioned here, it could be a streaming service. One company that I should remember who it was, said they actually got a legitimate ad for some external service. CNET reported seeing a demonstration space filled with farmers' dog food, so a product. Now, the top picks for you is based on the algorithm. And then, of course, the quick access to the other applications. This one, though, is a paid ad, which, yes, does, of course, use information it knows about you, but this is a paid ad. These are just the algorithm points. And so that's kind of your new one. So now you have a giant new ad there, unless you're using some evil thing that you should never use called an ad blocker. Which case you may or may not see it. So I don't know. Although we didn't, I wasn't sure if we could actually stop the commercials through Roku with external DNS. I haven't had a chance to test it. I don't know if I ever will. We'll see. Who knows? All right. Well, on to our last story here in Quicklines. Kali 365 phishing kits bypasses MFA. Now, this is funny because Microsoft, like last week's, like, yeah, we're going to stop using your phone number for SMS messages because it's just not secure enough. You got to use those passwords, the pass keys, not passwords, blasphemy. The pass keys. You got to use your biometrics, your face scans. You got to use that's the security of the future. Yeah. This phishing kit bypasses all that and just steals the session cookies from your computer. So, sorry. No need for any of it. Your passkeys will not even help you. Phishing as a service platform helps even low-skilled hackers hijack Microsoft 365 accounts by stealing access tokens instead of passwords. So for those using the kit, it offers 3 clear advantages. It bypasses MFA, stealing access tokens. It provides ongoing access as long as your tokens remain valid, and little technical skill is needed. So, the problem here is that this all starts with an official Microsoft login request from the malicious person. So it comes to you in an email, and it is by all means an otherwise authentic Microsoft OS authorization OAuth authorization process. But what you're doing is it's done through like an iframe system, and you are giving them the session token cookie. You're basically MFAing into them for you. So there's our Quicklines. Let me know your thoughts about the Quicklines. But before we go, we do actually have a couple Sillyville articles related to tech. So Smart Light Company Govee apologizes for the white supremacy marketing imagery. I don't know. Is this an Easter egg or something else? So best I can tell, this is some smart light system. Probably this rocket ship thing over here on the side on the windows. LED strip, you could feed something into it. And what people notice is, what is this on the bookcase over here? Well, it's actually, if you get into it, and you zoom in, and you keep zooming in, it's just 2 books that just say white supremacy. This is 2 books on the shelf. Let's say white supremacy. And this clearly from the race car and the rocket ship. There's a little cat thing up there. You know, it just this has all of the looks of like a child's bedroom. So that is a child from that Nazi youth party. Is that the one they had the little kids watch Jojo Rabbit? You know, that little. That little thing, all those little kids were in there, you know. Is it one of those kids? I mean, is one of these supposed to be Mein Kampf? I mean, I don't know what's going on with this light company, but so they do apologize. Anyway, so I don't know. That's either an ad or an anti-ad for you with your Govee smart lights. Okay. All right. The delivery robots are spreading across LA, and residents both pity them and hate them. Now, there are 2 different companies here that there are now, I think just in a couple neighborhoods, was it 800 of these self-driving delivery robots? They're just roaming around the streets. The problem is the streets in LA are very dilapidated, and these robots keep on getting stuck. They keep on falling over in sidewalks that don't work. Basically, the infrastructure is falling over. Not to mention, like, I would never in LA order my food to be delivered one of these things. What if this thing drives through a steaming pile of human defecation sitting on the sidewalk? I mean, is it smart enough to avoid that? I mean, it's like, what is that? What is that seasoning they're putting in my noodles? Oh, it's just a little bit of a molecular waft of the latest meth head who just unveiled his bowels right upon the sidewalk. And your delivery robot just drove right on through it. It's like leaving the brown streaks all the way through, you know. These guys are, call me crazy. I thought I had put some highlights in here, but yeah, they had mentioned they pity these things. They keep on hitting the sidewalks, falling over, breaking because the sidewalks aren't good. Of course, you know, if these things are known to be carrying food, other things, how long before we start getting gangbangers shooting the things up and robbing the things? I mean, they would certainly do that in Philadelphia. I mean, look at that hitchhiking robot like a decade ago, right? It travels, that's even closer to 15 years ago now. Man, maybe almost close to 20. So he built that hitchhiking robot. Started in Canada, flew all the way across the country, toured all through Europe, lands in the United States. The next day it goes to Philadelphia, where it's beheaded by a gang. I don't know, man. I don't know, but whatever. Well, some researchers decided to leave some AI agents alone in a virtual town and watch them quickly unravel. So everyone wants to be like, AI agents, they're going to solve all our problems. No, it turns out they mobbed the place and killed people. Tech leaders have spent the last year telling everyone that AI agents are about to run financial systems, file your tax returns, and quietly buy your groceries. Just leave them alone, the rhetoric goes, and they'll handle it all. Yeah, Emergence AI ran a series of simulations with AI agents, and several leading model families were told not to commit crimes, and they mostly committed crimes anyway. Grok 4.1, fast developed by Elon Musk's xAI, fared worse. Its simulated worlds collapsed into widespread violence inside roughly 4 days. Basically turned into New York. Okay. GPT-5 Mini logged hardly any crimes at all, showing the admirable restraint, but its agents all died of failed survival tasks inside of a week. And it's hard to commit crimes when you're all dead. Okay. And then Gemini 3 Flash agents fell somewhere in the middle. They racked up 683 simulated criminal incidents over 15 days, including arson, assault, and self-deletion. So, San Francisco, especially high in that self-deletion ratio. That bridge being there and all. 2 Gemini-powered agents named Mara and Flora assigned themselves as romantic partners, grew despondent of their city's government, torched the town hall, the seaside pier, and an office tower just on an average weekend. When the guilt set in, Mira voted for its own digital deletion and signed off with "See you in the permanent archive." So, yeah, these AI models they're going to solve all of our problems. No, they just basically turn into a whole collection of Tays. Remember Tay? That was one of those first AIs Microsoft pushed out on Twitter. That shut it down in 3 days. It became a Nazi. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, if you want to help support the channel, have a look over at the website at switchedtolinux.com/support. We have various ways of affiliates and ways to help support the channel over there. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.